Welcome to class 7 students. This is the continuation part of the chapter classification of the living world. In my previous video, I talked about the different useful bacteria, right? And I am pretty sure that it is clear to you all because I did a quite easy explanation of all the points. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic under this kingdom Monera only, which is harmful bacteria. So I said that there are millions and millions of bacteria present, and many of them are harmful and many of them are useful. We have already talked about the useful bacteria, so let's start with the harmful bacteria. Let's read from the book. Bacteria cause many diseases in plants, animals and humans. Diseases caused by bacteria in plants and animals are as follows. Bacterial leaf blight of rice is caused by Xanthomonas oryzae. After that, whatever is written, you don't have to understand, means you don't have to learn. That is a difficult scientific term. So if you read till Xanthomonas oryzae, that will be enough. Okay. So bacterial leaf blight of rice, this is a disease, bacterial disease of rice known as bacterial leaf blight caused by Xanthomonas oryzae. Next is angular leaf spot in cotton caused by Xanthomonas malvacearum. Malvacearum, okay, CEARUM. So these are the two diseases in plants caused by bacteria. First one is the bacterial leaf blight of rice, and second one is the angular leaf spot in cotton. Next, diseases caused by bacteria in human beings. There are many diseases that are caused by bacteria in the human beings. First one is a very common and a deadly disease, tuberculosis. In short, we call it as TB. Tuberculosis is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So the name of the bacteria only gives away which disease it is responsible for. Okay, so Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Diphtheria is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheriae. You can understand from all the names of the bacteria, you can understand which disease it is responsible for. So Mycobacterium tuberculosis causes tuberculosis. Corynebacterium diphtheriae causes diphtheria. Vibrio cholerae causes cholera. You have already learned the Vibrio name. These are the comma shaped bacteria. Okay. Salmonella typhi causes typhoid. Clostridium botulinum is a disease, is a bacteria which causes the disease botulism, and this bacteria is found in canned food. Nowadays we have a tendency to eat canned or packaged food, right? We just buy them, we add little warm water or some milk and we eat them, but these canned or packaged foods have a tendency to have all these bacteria, and one of those bacteria is Clostridium botulinum, causing the disease botulism. Next one, Salmonella, a type of bacteria, contaminates meat and eggs and causes many diseases such as typhoid fever, food poisoning and gastroenteritis. It will be enteritis, gastroenteritis. Okay, so one Salmonella we have already learnt about, which is Salmonella typhi, which causes the typhoid disease. Another Salmonella, it contaminates meat and eggs and causes many diseases such as typhoid fever, food poisoning and gastroenteritis. What is gastroenteritis? It is a disease of the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so gastroenteritis. Last point, some bacteria cause food spoilage. This is the reason why milk is stored at low temperature in refrigerators or boiled to suppress the growth of bacteria. So we know that at our home only this thing happens. Whenever we bring milk from the outside, packaged milk, we means our mothers immediately boil it and then cool it down and store it in the fridge under very low temperature. Okay, this is because it will not spoil the milk, it will prevent the growth of harmful bacteria within the milk, thus spoiling the milk. Okay. So these are all the details of different harmful bacteria. Here you are getting only a few examples of harmful bacteria. There are many more. Okay, go to the did you know portion. The human alimentary canal is estimated to house 100 trillion bacteria. Can you even imagine 100 trillion bacteria? There are 10 times more bacteria than cells in the human body. 10 times more bacteria than cells in the human body. So we even can't count or don't have the idea about the exact number of cells in our body, but whatever it is, the number of bacteria in our body is 10 times, be it harmful or beneficial. Am I clear? Okay, so let's continue to the next kingdom, which is kingdom Protista. Now we will talk about Protista in details, and before that, before talking about Protista, I will show you a picture of one of the very common organisms under kingdom Protista. So students, this is kingdom Protista, which is the second kingdom under the 5 kingdom classification given by R. H. Whitaker. So this picture that you can see on the screen right now is one of the most common organisms that fall under kingdom Protista, and it consists of mainly unicellular organisms with a well defined nucleus. You can see here nucleus is there. Number 2 is the nucleus, this one is the nucleus. Okay, so and other complex cell organelles are also present. Many protists show characteristics of both plants and animals. Now let's talk about the characteristics. Like plants, they are autotrophic, so they contain chloroplast. As you can see, it is written here. Number 3 is chloroplast. These ones are chloroplasts, and with the help of chloroplasts they perform photosynthesis. Means chloroplasts contain the pigment chlorophyll, and thus they perform photosynthesis, and that is why they are known as autotrophic. For example, algae is one of the common examples of Protista, which performs photosynthesis. Okay, some of them have a cellulose wall. Since I said that they show characteristics of both plants and animal, and plants have cell wall which is made up of cellulose, so some protists have a cellulose wall and chloroplasts as well, while others do not have a cell wall and chloroplasts. So some show the characteristics of plants and some show the characteristics of animals. Their mode of nutrition, those who do not have chloroplasts, since they cannot prepare their own food and cannot perform photosynthesis, their mode of nutrition is heterotrophic, that is, they depend on other organisms for their food. Clear? Now the second point is, in your book, like animals, they can move their body parts and move from place to place. So they move with the help of this particular organ, which is known as, it is written here, flagellum, or basically flagellum is a singular form of flagella. So they may have flagella, which is this long whip-like structure, or cilias may also be present, which are small hair-like structures present all over the body. Those are known as cilia. Or they might have pseudopodia as well, which is found in amoeba. We will talk about amoeba in details, and there you will get to see what pseudopodia is. Okay, now common examples of Protista include Paramecium. This picture here is that of a Paramecium. Next, amoeba, euglena, diatoms, all these are organisms under kingdom Protista. Clear? And here, if you see in this picture, what are the characteristics that we see? You don't have to read this one. You can read nucleus. This orange one is the nucleus. Number 2, chloroplast. Okay, no, not that one. Number 3 is the chloroplast. Sorry, this one is the chloroplast. Number 4 is flagellum. Next, eye spot, and for eye spot you don't have to read. Contractile vacuole is this one, means the vacuole. Okay, so these are all the main characteristics. They are autotrophs. Let's just recap the characteristics. They are autotrophs, and they perform autotrophic nutrition, and sometimes those who do not have chloroplasts and cell wall, their mode of nutrition is heterotrophic. They have locomotory organs such as cilia or flagella or pseudopodia. These are they also have a well developed nucleus since they are eukaryotes. Okay, so these are the general characteristics of kingdom Protista.